Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm Supratim and I head marketing at RapidValue Solution. I'm also the moderator for today's session. We'll be presenting today on leveraging cloud for digital competitive edge. Today we have with us Avinash Thakur, who heads our digital business consulting practice globally. Avinash is an AWS certified solution architect having around 20 years of experience in delivering IT solutions to global clients from startups to Fortune 100 companies. He has presented in leading events and conferences like IoT World, LiveWorks, Cloud Expo, to name a few. This is a live session and we will be recording this webinar. We will make this session available to you in the future along with the slide deck. We have split this session in two parts. The first 45 minutes we will have the presentation, and the last 15 minutes will be open for any question you may have. During the session, if you have any questions, we encourage you to post them on the chat box below, and we will take them towards the end of the session. With this, I hand over this session to Avinash. Over to you, Avinash.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Supratim, for the introduction. Good morning, audience across all the time zone. Thanks a lot for joining the webinar. So to start with, I would like to emphasize that we live in interesting time and more so in digital technology space. And if I go back down my memory lane, when I started my career in 1997, developing Y2K solution using C++ on a workstation which had a RAM of 16 MB. Yes, 16 MB, that's MB. Now, I believe like all of you having smartphones will at least have a RAM of 4 GB at least, GB. That's the era we are living in. And at the same time, around 7 years back when I got introduced to cloud, initially, of course, like I didn't understand what's this cloud about, how it's going to function, how will I see the servers, what is the security going to be. And around 7 years back, still the kind of the bandwidth we have now, the fast bandwidth was not there, and I doubted it, how it works. But once I start dabbling into it and we had the initial clients, then I realized its potential, and put it simply, it really invigorated my software engineering senses. So what I intend to do is that in next 45 minutes, I will touch upon all these questions, which I'm sure is pertinent for both who are trying to start their cloud journey and for those who already have started. If you just do a cursory glance from top to bottom, I'm sure like these questions must be in your mind when you started or you're planning to start. What is cloud, or how I can take advantage of cloud platform? What are the different phases of adoption? How do I do my budgeting? How is security addressed? So what I will do is I will do my best to give you answers to all these questions and give an investment of 1 hour of time you have given to me. Essentially, I have broken down into 5 sections. I will touch upon that in the current digital era, how does cloud fit into with all the digital disruption going around, then touching upon that how one can start a cloud-first transformation journey and what are the migration paths available to you. Then touch upon the new paradigm on the architecture of serverless architecture, the more pertinent question of how does the security functions in the cloud and how the DevOps you can leverage. And lastly, I will touch upon that cloud definitely gives you right away the low-hanging cost optimization. But once you start your journey, there is still further initiative or strategy you can have to further optimize your cost by following some of the best practices. And then I will touch upon a case study that how we helped one of our clients to go into a full digital transformation based on the cloud-first strategy. Let me start with this collage of the company's logos, right? Like if you see, these are the companies which touches, I will say essentially all aspects of our life. If I go from left to right, we use Airbnb to book our vacations. We use Lyft to move around cities and town, Netflix to watch movies, even iCloud, right? A lot of you must be having iOS and store their files and photos on iCloud. On the insurance, the Capital One on the banking side, Robinhood for trading, Ticketmaster for booking our events. And if you're a fan of Messi, you will be following Barcelona and being a software engineer or technical side. I'm sure you must be using some or other product of Atlassian or now the new paradigm of the Docker containers. So the key thing all these companies they have in common across the industries is that they have adopted AWS Cloud as a platform, as a core of their business. And the point I'm trying to emphasize is that the cloud is the new imperative. Like if any company wants to survive or thrive in this digitally disruptive era, they have to embrace the cloud. In a way, it is a technology which has leveled the playing field, whether you are a startup or a Fortune company. For example, any kind of a horsepower of servers. Earlier, it used to be the prerogative of bigger companies to come up with the racks and racks of servers or the loads. But now the same kind of the servers are available to even a smaller company. And if I look at my clients in the past few years, it is a de facto for all the startups to leverage the cloud platform for faster time to market, the breadth of the technologies which are available to them, the cost optimization. And same goes for even the bigger companies. So they are looking at how to transform the way they are doing business. This is what I term as a digital wheel with different spoke. As I mentioned earlier, is that given in this digital disruptive era where every company is looking at that, how to embrace the digital across all the walks of their enterprise. For a startup, it may be only about coming up with the digital products and services on omni-channel experience. But for established enterprise, it will be about how to make current process automated, how to digitize the efficient process, or even how to come up with digital products and services, how to make their internal architecture both agile and bimodal, how to collaborate with their employees, their partners, and how to leverage all the technologies which are there, which gives them a real-time and analytics-based insight. So in a way, digital is not only touching the bigger companies, but mid-tier companies, smaller companies, and startups. So everyone has to leverage the all breadth of technologies which the digital provides you. And that is where the cloud platform gives them the breadth of services. 7-8 years back, the understanding was that it's only about the infra layer. So although, just to give a kind of conditions apply, although I have shown you the logo of only Amazon or Azure, just to primarily, because they take care of the 80% of the market share. And mostly I will be using examples of either Amazon or Azure just to give a context, no bias towards the other platforms. Every platform provides their own benefits. So what I was trying to say is that around 7-8 years back, it was only about infra layer. But nowadays, if you look at the breadth of services which Azure provides or Amazon provides, it's phenomenal. Like I think they have more than 130, or I would say more than nearly 150 services ranging from infra layer to data layer. Data, I would say any kind of storage what you can think of, whether it's a simple block storage or object storage or a data warehouse or even a new paradigm of data lakes, the insights, the reporting. On the application side, you can leverage platform as a service. You just need to deploy your code and they will take care of all the application server or the web servers and you're ready to go. Function as a service, I will touch upon that on the serverless side. They provide you the whole DevOps, right, from the code configurations to deployment to automation testing to infrastructure as a service. And on the integration side also, so nowadays, both the Amazon and Azure, they also provide you to coexist with your hybrid investment of your application or infrastructure, the integrations with your ERP or EDI system you have. So it's not only about cloud, but it's end-to-end, any use case, whether it's a new IoT or the blockchain or analytics, the services are there for you to leverage it. The next step generally is that, okay, you are convinced about the breadth of services provided by the cloud platform, but definitely anytime when you want to start a new initiative, you would like to do a preliminary TCO analysis. Or there are a lot of studies out there which highlights what you can do on your own, or both AWS and Azure also provides you the TCO calculator. So what I've taken is I've just taken a snapshot of one of the independent ITC research, and if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, it highlights that given a 5 years transformation journey, what are the kind of ROI or TCO cost benefits you can get from embracing the cloud, whether it's a 5-year discounted business benefit, whether it's a lower TCO, or whether making your IT staff more efficient, whether coming up with an additional revenue per application. So these are the all, I would say, tick marks, which definitely gives you a compelling reason to adopt cloud. In this section, what I will do is that I will touch upon the 4 aspects of that if you're trying to start your journey on the cloud, how you can go about doing it, what are the migration, different paths available to you, what are different architecture, security on the DevOps side. Taking from the previous section, once you have got in-principle approval to, let's say, start your cloud journey, the first question which comes to any person who has been given the baton of doing that transformation initiative is that, is there a playbook or a framework I can follow to adopt it for my company? Now, what you see is, I would say, a 5-phase framework to start your cloud transformation journey. What we call it as a brave. Simply put, it's always a brave initiative when you're trying to change and transform the existing business process or the technology adoption your company has done. Simply put, B stands for the bootstrap, R for the roles and resources, A for the assessment, V for evaluate and execute. I will touch upon them all briefly. So when you start your journey, how do you bootstrap it? Right? So the key thing is to do a deep dive of your business goals and strategy. It's not about first doing the IT strategy. IT strategy or the cloud strategy has to be a follow-up linkage to your business goals and strategy. What you want to achieve, and then how you can achieve using the cloud as a tool. We should do an initial TCO analysis that what is your current spend and what is the current TCO you want to achieve. Is there any security, regulation, or compliance which you need to adhere to? Create a business case and ROI. Once you got all these things done from the bootstrap perspective, hey, what are the roles and resources you need? Should I be doing it by internally in a organic way, recruiting all the resources which I need, or should I be partnering with the technology partners or professional services providers or consulting companies which can help me in the cloud journey? What kind of a skill set I need on that side? The third step is doing the full inward assessment of where does currently the organization stand, doing an assessment of people, process, and technology from the cloud adoption perspective, doing across both the mapping of business case versus the application, also doing whether my process will adhere to the change I'm planning to do. Once you have done that, do a kind of prioritization and valuation of the assessment results, because invariably big bang is not the approach to go. So how do I decide that what I should adopt or what is the best fitment for me? What are the criteria which will filter all my analysis, whether I should be going for infrastructure as a service or a platform as a service or software as a service, whether my industry or my business case demands a private cloud or hybrid cloud or public cloud. So these are the criteria which will automatically come into the play when you've done the assessment and you have all the options in front of you. And of course, the E for the execution, and then you go on doing a journey in an agile way or the DevOps process you need to follow. Typically, this will be the, I would say, the traffic junction. You will be there, coming from the previous slide. What you will have is that migration goals and objectives. You will do the analysis of your existing applications and infrastructure. You will come up with your new business architecture and the technical architecture, and then force it through all the partition criteria which you have come up, whether it's business, technology, or regulation-wise. And then you will have invariably 6 paths to choose that across all these applications or the business case. Some of them you may retire because it may be redundant, or it can be collated with new applications or business process you're planning. Some of them will need to be retained because you are compelled to retain it more from your immediate tactical objectives what you want to achieve. Some of them you want to go directly because it's low-hanging fruit and let's go for a lift and shift option. Some of them may actually have to be rebuilt from the scratch because the kind of technologies and options which now cloud provides is much more beneficial, both short-term and long-term perspective. And I'm sure like a lot of you in past would have done the migration. And typically, I always say that migration of an existing application or business process compared to scratch development is much more difficult. And unless it's a tools-driven approach, it becomes much more challenging. And that's where both the cloud platforms, they provide their in-house migration tools which will help you in the analysis, which will help you in automating the migration of whether it's a database or an application or the virtual machines you have. And they also provide you the third-party tools like CloudMIS or Cloud Endure, which are certified by AWS and Azure, and which will fast-track your migration. I just highlighted a few of the architecture snapshot is that you have done your analysis, you have chosen your migration path, you have chosen one of the 6 options. And just to highlight is that typically you can start from anywhere, whether it's you want to do only application hosting or blog hosting or disaster recovery, or it's a simple microservices-based application. It's not an uncharted territory anymore. The kind of the templates which are there to embrace you and which you can take as it is from the architecture perspective or the process perspective or the kind of tools and documentation which that platform provides is very vast and extensive, and which really bootstraps your embracement of both from the process and technology perspective in a very fast way. And there are a lot of templates, architecture, which will, I'm sure, will fit what you want to do, and you can customize it and configure it and can start on your journey. So key thing, I think one of the architecture which I mentioned here is the serverless. And although there are a lot of architecture, there are a lot of technology which the cloud platform provides, but I specifically choose serverless to sort of touch upon. If you look at the time period from left to right in the last few decades, 90s, it was about the physical machines. 2000, we started embracing the virtual machines, the hypervisors. Early 10, the cloud infrastructure. And if you look at the left frame, it gives you how the whole application development paradigm got shifted over the years. And in the last few years, it has been microservices, containers, and now the new paradigm in the architecture is function as a service or the serverless. It's all about only coding the business logic and not worrying about how the server are going to be provisioned, how it's going to be scaled, how it is going to be deployed, but just only focusing on the business logic, more on the microservices perspective. So these are the main tenets of serverless. Although you can give me the point is that if I have already embraced cloud, in a way I'm started not managing the server. It's all about just clicking there and provisioning the server. So the serverless takes even that one more steps further, that you don't even need to now worry about provisioning the servers, either the EC2 on the AWS or whether the web apps on the or Linux machine or the Windows machines on the Azure. What you only need to focus or worry about is that breaking down your business process into microservices, code it, package it with its dependencies, and just upload the code. For example, AWS gives you the AWS Lambda service, and Azure gives you the Azure function. So, for example, let's say that you have an e-commerce website, and once a customer places its order, if we want to break the process into microservices, it's about sending the payment information to the payment gateway. Once the confirmation comes up, putting the order into the fulfillment center. Third is sending it to your third-party vendors to fulfill the orders. Now, not necessarily this will work in a sequence, but what you can do is that take these microservices and develop them as an independent Lambda or the Azure function and just upload it. And again, taking this e-commerce example further. Now, you don't even need to now do all the load balancing or the auto-scaling configuration, which both AWS and Azure provides. You just need to choose the kind of the memory which you want to allocate for your code, and it does automatically scaling or automatically making it high availability, that depending upon the kind of hits your e-commerce site is getting, it will instantiate that many instances of this microservices code, and it will automatically scale and ensure that the performance which your end users are getting is not compromised. Already cloud gives you the benefit of pay as you go. I think gone are the days when you need to do the capacity planning for ahead of 5 years, lock your investment right away, and that too taking a guesstimate or extrapolate based upon what you're expecting. Now, cloud gives you the flexibility of just configuring it. Now, the serverless, you don't even need to worry about that. So you only pay when your code is executed. So this not only helps you in a more better architecture, and a microservices-based architecture, but it also saves you money. And again, one of the queries can be, which are the use case or the services are more amenable for the serverless architecture? The simple answer is that anything which you earlier can or could design in a microservices-based architecture can be done in a serverless. Now, earlier it used to be a dependency that it has to be a stateless-based business process or stateless architecture, but both AWS and Azure, they have also given you a flexibility or the way to do a stateful flow of business process as well, whether it's a web application you want to do and break it down, whether it's a back-end application, or whether it's a data processing, you want to do the batch uploads, the whole ETL process, it can be broken down. The chatbots, which is again a very good example where it's a simple one-to-one, the way your users are giving their request, you can initiate one thread of your AWS Lambda or the function. So to put it simply, anything which can be broken down into a micro-business process can be done in a serverless. One of them, I've just taken a very simple example to emphasize the point of the serverless. So if you see, taking the example from the AWS perspective, the kind of services which you will need. So it's a simple web application where you have both static web pages as well as you want to do more of a dynamic web pages. So what you don't see here is there is no web server here. There's no Apache or any IIS server here. You can use S3, which is a very cheap storage for your static files. Cognito, which gives you a whole user management, authentication, and authorization, and the API gateway, which acts as an interface to your services. And this is where the Lambda, where you can do all your different microservices to generate the dynamic web pages, and DynamoDB if you want to store any session-related or user-related data. So it's a very simplified example, but it shows that you don't need the application servers or the web servers. And for example, when I was typically for last 2 years, I have been leveraging a cloud group for enhancing my knowledge on the cloud side, and of course, leveraged it for my certification. I believe like some of you would have already used that a cloud group, and it's totally on the serverless architecture out there. So all the training materials they service, all the videos they service, it's all based upon the serverless architecture in the backend. And one of the projects we did for one of our clients, they were doing the batch uploads of petabytes of the data coming up from 5 different sources. So we leveraged Lambda out there because we don't want to provision the server for only for using it only for 2 hours a day and pay for the rest of the 20 hours. And that too also it gets kicked off based upon the events happening, whether it's all the files haven't uploaded, then you kick off the actual usage of the Lambda. So in a way, it takes your microservices-based architecture to a next step, and without compromising on all of the cloud benefits of automatic load balancing or elasticity or giving you more cost optimization. Although cloud adoption has been, of course, on the increase, but invariably all the discussion when I start with my clients, we will definitely have a few sessions on the cloud security. If you look at the bottom image, these are the, I will say, 4 existing adoption, which sort of compares with your what the responsibilities you do when you have your infrastructure and application in the on-premise versus when you do infrastructure as a service, vis-a-vis when you do platform as a service, vis-a-vis when you do a software as a service adoption of the cloud. So what cloud provides you is sort of a delineation, is that anything which involves with the server, compute, storage, or database or networking, that is taken care by AWS, although I've given an example of AWS, but in a way same applies to Azure and the platform. And they give us all the configuration, what we can do for the compute, the storage, the database services. And it's up to us that what kind of or what level of security or what level of walls we need to want, what level of encryption we want, what level of identity and access control we want. So all this, I would say the levers are there. The only difference is that vis-a-vis the on-premise data center where you can see your servers, you will not be able to see here. But apart from that, anything and everything which you were able to do in on-premise servers, even the IP addresses to firewall, to the penetration testing, or at least the network layer testing or network layer security. It is much more beyond that. Options are available to you, and everything is configurable. You just go to your account and you can configure any of your infrastructure security or encryption, or you have a lot of services to do the monitoring at different level. It starts right from your port level to the API level to the services level. I think the best way to emphasize is that even the government is embraced it, whether it's NASA or the CIA, and I believe a lot of you must have heard that with the Pentagon JEDI project, right, where the last two shortlisted vendors are AWS and Azure. So if the defense, the CIA, the NASA, they are embracing the cloud. That means from the security perspective, it meets or exceeds the expectations what they have, and even the adoption on the financial services side, or whether you take the healthcare side, which had a lot of regulations which they need to follow to be compliant to different industry regulation, or the personal security or the data security, they have embraced the cloud. And apart from that, all the platforms, they also have the certifications or the audit compliance, which they keep it abreast to meet the demands of the industry. Now, all this audit or the security compliance, which may or may not necessarily you will be able to do that kind of a due diligence if you have an on-premise data center. And this is another topic which definitely comes up when we have our discussion with cloud. Because again, DevOps is, again, I would say, is the de facto thing which anybody who's using IT application development have to adopt. Because nowadays, gone are the days when you wanted to have a release cycle of your applications in months or years. Now it is all about weeks or at most 2 months. It's all about doing the continuous cycle, right? If I go back to my 15 years back when I was on the developing applications, right, we used to give our code, and then it used to take 3 to 4 days to get the deployment done on the whether it's a production server or the testing server. Now it's all about as soon as I check in my code, I should be able to see the whole deployment of the application within an hour or 2 hours. And even if there has to be some testing needs to be done, it can be automated. So this is where, again, the cloud platforms are innovating. Again, around 2 years back, anybody who is in DevOps, they need to have a collage of third-party products from left to right, of doing a code repository, to a build management, to a provisioning for the infrastructure services. One needs to avail 3 different products to achieve the DevOps. Now, what Azure and AWS providing is that although they do support the different third-party products like a Chef or Jenkins, but you can also leverage their inbuilt services right from, if I take an example of AWS, right, the code commit, which helps you in the code repository, code pipeline. You can do a whole build pipeline that from where the code should be collected together, deploying it, provisioning it, monitoring it. They have taken it to a kind of a infrastructure as a code. You don't need to worry about writing the old days of the Unix scripts to automate it. You can use JSON structures to automate your cloud formation, which provisions your servers along with all other peripherals requirements of your stack, whether it's application layer, database layer, the identity management, your load balancing. Everything can be in one single the cloud formation file, and it can be provisioned. Similar applies with Azure as well. If you take Azure Boards, it's for planning and tracking. Azure Repos, it's more of a cloud-hosted private Git management. Azure Pipeline is a CI/CD that works with any language. Test plans for doing your testing, whether it's automation of testing or whether it's a load balancing testing, you can do that. And Azure Artifact for sharing your packages or adding any artifacts to your CI/CD pipeline. What it ensures is that it gives you homogeneous services across your different steps of achieving the DevOps. It helps you in achieving your agile methodology or culture you would have adopted. it shortens your cycle times, it improves the quality and availability of apps and resources. And of course, when you achieve the whole DevOps and Agile culture and embrace the Agile methodology, it gives you the agility. It gives you the paramount, one of the tenets of agility in the current digital environment, where you want to do a faster releases, where you want to do testing or deployment in a faster way. So this is, again, very one of the important points is that when I have a discussion with our clients, there are early adopter of the clouds would have adopted clouds 3 to 4 years back. But the kind of innovation or the frequent releases which all the major cloud platform is doing is not only about enhancing their services, what they have given to us. It's not even yearly. I think it's kind of weekly and monthly. If you follow their blogs or new channels, it has been improving each and every month. They are coming up with new services or making their services even more better. So that is where the cost optimization which you achieve on the cloud is not a one-time benefit that once you get your low-hanging fruit, it's not the benefit of 30 to 40%, but it's a continuous process, and you have the tools available to you to always get extracting that extra juice, the dollar value or the business value or the application value of your platform on the cloud. Primarily, the 4 levers which you have is achieving the right size of instances, having more of the architecture and elasticity perspective, right pricing model, and always look into matching your usage to your the storage class. So when I say right sizing the instances, again, the kind of the servers which cloud provides you, it will go right from whether you want a CPU optimized or a memory optimized, or whether you want a RAM optimized, or a different kind of a storage, whether it's block storage or a data warehouse storage. So there are a lot of servers out there. Now, when you start deploying your application or using the storage services, right? So if you do a continuous monitoring, you will see a kind of a trend that if you use some other servers which matches your usage, it will give you extra benefit, right? And that is, again, where it doesn't have to be more of a hit and trial basis. All the cloud platforms gives you a dedicated free services of monitoring your usage. They also have services which proactively gives you advice is that based upon the whole account under which you have the different services, what are the possible cost savings for you? So by leveraging the monitoring services, the matrices, you can veer towards the instance size or the horsepower, which still gives you the bang for your buck and it still matches with your application needs, but on the lower cost. Second point is on the architecture and elasticity. As I mentioned that the serverless services which the platform has provided, again, it has in a way, the benefit has been increased from the last 1 year. For example, if I take off the Lambda, which AWS provide. Now, earlier, you can run Lambda only for 5 minutes, then it used to automatically shut down. But around 7 months back, they have increased the duration to 15 minutes. So that improves, that expands the horizon of use cases where it can be used. Now, earlier, I can only use it for the use cases or my microservices, which can run less than 5 minutes and should not be using the resources more than 5 minutes. But now, if I know that I have the time period of 14 to 15 minutes, then the use case activity increases. Another aspect is architecting more and more for cloud. So serverless is one option available to you. And the other inbuilt services, whether it's user management services, whether it's the queue services or messaging services, security services, you don't need to code on your own from scratch. You can just leverage those services, and with all the APIs, it will gel seamlessly. And that is where it gives you the cost benefit of the application management and the maintenance effort goes down, and you leverage more and more benefits of the services which these platforms provide. Second aspect is always having a view on the elasticity. Now, although the cloud takes you away from over-provisioning or over-capacity, which earlier we used to do, but still, just to be on safer side, sometimes we have seen that the client's infrastructure team will over-provision. But again, the same here is that all the platforms gives you the auto-scaling features or the load balancing features, which can be configured based upon the various parameters, whether it's the server parameters which are using the CPU usage or memory usage, or based upon your application parameters. Also, you can configure it that, hey, when my CPU usage nears the 80% or 90%, you instantiate 5 more servers for me. But when it goes down again to 50% to 40%, you scale in. So that kind of a real-time scaling and scale out is available to you, which again gives you a more benefit. And there also only prerequisite will be to sort of design your application for the warming up of the server, or making it the dependency between the new servers which scales out or when it scales in. How do you want to manage the dependency between your different server deployment? But it's all there for you to leverage it. And if you already know that when the spikes are going to be there, you can in fact schedule your instances. You don't need to wait on the either the server parameters or the application parameters. You know that the batch uploads which is going to happen is always from 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. Right? So you can reserve your instances for that particular time, and it will get kicked in, and it will get kicked out. Third, right pricing model. Right? Now, again, here I've taken an example of AWS, but again, similar kind of options are available for you on the other platforms also, is that you have on-demand instances where, of course, is the highest paying. But when you know your consumption of the servers, when you know that from the long-term perspective, you want to keep using the servers or the application deployment for months or years, you have reserved instances, which gives you a cost benefit of up to 70% compared to on-demand instances. Now, there is also spot instances for your not so critical application or environment, like let's say a testing server. You can use a spot instances, or you can do a mix and match also of your on-demand versus the spot. You can have a spot fleet of 10 servers where 5 is on demand and 5 is from the spot. So again, there are multiple levers. If you leverage the monitoring of your usage, you have a more of a far-sighted view of your consumptions. There are huge, tremendous cost benefits, and this doesn't involve any architectural change or the process change or a complex configuration of any load balancing or networking or any session management. It's only about going there and booking your server. The last I want to touch upon is on the storage side. Right? Now, here also, if I take an example of, let's say, archival or archival, right? Now, a lot of industries have a compliance and regulatory requirement that their data has to be stored for 5 years or 4 years. Now, that is where they can leverage the multiple options, which both the platforms provide. With more of a cheaper option for the archival, but more the other performance-intensive option for the real-time usage. last, I'll just touch upon a case study which we did for one of our clients. So here also the client had a typical challenge of disconnected systems from their sales to the whole the actual job scheduling. So they are one of the biggest crane rental provider in US. They had more than 3,500 assets distributed across 14 locations and across 2,500 plus sites. The key thing what they didn't know was, where is my crane? Now, going from sales, they were using the latest Salesforce.com. For tracking the cranes, they were using Excel sheet. For scheduling the cranes, they were using a 15-year-old application developed on VB Access. And they had an ERP system for accounting, again, a 10-year-old. For actual job execution, they were doing the paper management, and that is what used to be fed in for the invoicing. So ultimately, this country system, lack of operation visibility, they cannot plan, they cannot optimize. So that is where we came up with the whole platform, end-to-end platform, which helped them in all the different sub-use cases, right from tracking their asset, real-time tracking their asset, to the route and fuel optimization, to having a right view of inventory. And these dashboards were visible to right from the CXO level to the actual on-the-ground, the crane operator and the job site supervisors. And we leveraged multiple technologies of Azure for this, right from the IoT Hub to the schedule management to the Power BI, integration with the Salesforce, and the data storage for the images, coming up with the mobile application so that they can have a real-time view of the crane coming in and out of their yard. And in the functional way, we had the whole tracking system, the dispatcher management, time reporting. And now, currently what we're also doing is the whole predictive maintenance also, is that depending upon the mileage of a particular asset or the usage, now we are predicting that what kind of maintenance is required. The key point I'm trying to emphasize is that the point which I emphasized in the initial part, that again, this company, more than 100-year-old, having a disparate system, and they have to digitize their process to be more efficient. And this is where the cloud platform matches. Like, although they had 5 different kind of a system, but the cloud gives you a kind of a backbone on which you can sort of flesh out all the different business cases and the services, and the one platform for end-to-end, from the sales to the tracking, to the dashboard, to the scheduling, to the invoicing. All of these things can be achieved. And this kind of a uniform backbone-based single platform could have been possible 5 years or 6 years back by only developing a custom application, or having a collage of 3 to 4 different kind of application or products which they had earlier. And of course, it gives you the business value, is that the unplanned downtime and the maintenance cost reduces, the miles and fuel usage, the billing accuracy, the equipment utilization, what they cost, and ultimately it's all about increasing your revenue or decreasing your cost. And this is where I complete it. So I'll be more than happy to take any queries, question you have.
Yeah. If you have any questions, you can probably post on the chat box below and we can answer them right away. So Avinash, we have one question. Based on your experience, what kind of projects are low-hanging fruits and can be early win for the business in their cloud adoption journey?
Sure. I think that's just a very fantastic question. I think whenever I meet clients who are starting their journey, I think this is one of the top question which I get from them is that, okay, I'm sold on the cloud, but from where I can start? And of course, we can do all the analysis, but out of my experience, what I can say is that from the low-hanging perspective, the storage is very easy to adopt if you have storage needs for, let's say, any archival storage, or even if you have on the SQL side or the Oracle side, it's very easy to migrate that your existing databases or database storage, or even if you want to start a greenfield storage, that's also very easy to embrace or migrate. And even if you want to have a hybrid form that you want to have a part storage in your in-premise and the part storage in the cloud, all the platforms provide you to have a gateway so that you can have both the world talking to each other. So from the low-hanging fruits, I typically advise that is the best path to take, the first one.
Thanks, Avinash. Avinash, Avinash, the next question we have is, what kind of percentage reduction cost optimization a company can generally expect who are already using cloud?
Definitely. So that is also, I think, one of the further discussions we have with our clients after 1 or 2 years when we are already engaged with them. And as I mentioned, is that it's not about just getting the low-hanging 30% when you embrace the cloud, but you can optimize it continuously in your journey. And what again I have seen is that there is always a scope for, I can stick my neck out, and I will say is that when we have consulted with the clients, there's always a further scope of at least further 30 to 40% optimization. Again, it's not only because of the bad usage they were doing, but when they started, it was the right usage. But in fact, both Amazon or Azure, they would have further reduced their cost. So, and there will be further different kind of a server option or services which will be available, which can be embraced without changing much on your process or application code. Or there will be a different storage class which I can play around with depending upon the life cycle of your data. For example, again, the AWS till 1 year back, they have Glacier as one of their low-cost storage, but now they have another called Deep Archive. So there is always a different new services which is coming out and different server options is coming out, technology which can help you further take the juice in terms of the cost benefit.
Avinash, we have one more question, which is, I would like to start adopting cloud storage for archival. What are the options and costs available?
Okay, again, taking from my last response, is that all the platforms, they provide you different kind of a storage. So let's say that if you want to do a simple archival storage based just on object storage, and for example, the healthcare or the financial, they have the regulation of keeping their trade records, right? Now, depending upon that, for initial 6 months to 1 year, you need more frequent access. So they provide you a low cost for that particular storage. But then you can automatically move that data to even less cost storage when you don't need to have that kind of a frequent access. And it takes you even further that you just want an archival where it's the kind of access you have will be very, very minimal in months or year, and you are okay to wait for a few hours to retrieve the data. So that is even much more cheaper. It goes down to, I will say, a few cents per GB like that per month. So it goes to that least expensive or least cost level.
Okay. All right. We don't see any more questions, so we can wind up this session here.
Yeah, so I just have one thing. So I think one of the, I would say, return on investment of your time. So what we're also offering to all the participants is a 2-day free workshop. And that's what we do with our clients, although that's, so what we're proposing is that from your side, the investment from the dollar perspective will be zero. What we only need commitment from you is that 4 hours each day from your senior business and technology stakeholders. And an agenda of the workshop will be to do analysis of your business IT infrastructure objectives. And as a deliverable, what we'll give you is a high-level the migration strategy and the roadmap, your TCO analysis of current spend versus what are the benefits you can get from the adoption, from the DevOps perspective, looking at your current process, what you can achieve. And if you've already embraced cloud, then we will recommend from the architecture best practices or how you can further leverage your current platform, whether it's more from the DevOps perspective or embracing the new services. So we'll reaching out to you further. We'll propose this 2-day free workshop offer to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Avinash, for sharing the details. You can always connect with us offline or drop in an email at contact@rapidvaluesolutions.com. We will also be sharing the webinar recording in a couple of days' time. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session. And we are glad that you all could make it up for this webinar. Thank you once again, and thank you, Avinash.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Have a nice day.